particularly coming from Ben Carson, who, quite frankly,
what happened to him?
In the African-American community and elsewhere,
Did he bang his head?
He drank the Kool-Aid. Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina have the same problem. People are going to say, who is the real Ben Carson? The person who probably went to Yale and University of Michigan for medical school because of affirmative action and because of social problems, and didn't end up like many of the black men that we see in prison today in Baltimore.
There you go. Isn't that wonderful? Tim Graham, Director of Media Analysis at the Media Research Center, Executive Editor of Newsbusters.org and MRC.org. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
What they are doing, we had Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina announce this week, and the media has been disgraceful. But let's start with Carson with this affirmative action stuff, and he's drank the Kool-Aid, according to the black community. That is racism, from A to Z.
Well, the Washington Post did a story where they basically said this guy used to be a role model for black youth.
I saw that, and now the black community doesn't have. He lost his connection. They don't like him anymore. I mean, who even knew who he was before he became a political pundit?
Well, it's the idea that he's liked by white conservatives, and now he is a fringe figure. Obviously what they're saying is all good black men are liberals, like Obama. And if you change your mind on that, well, that's just not allowed. And so that's what you usually hear about this time. But, I think the problem we're having on some level is the networks have barely acknowledged that he's running.
Yes.
And they're not really looking at the polls because Carson's doing okay. He's doing at least as well in these polls as Chris Christie, and they seem to treat him like he's a very serious candidate, even if he hasn't declared yet.
Yeah, ignoring a black man, the same way they ignored actually the first Republican black to run for president way back was Alan Keyes, and I remember that announcement, and I remember there was no national coverage whatsoever. Certainly, you could compare it to what Jesse Jackson got when he ran for president way back. All right, let's talk about Carly. I mean, you heard her mention Carly in passing there. Her main target was the black Ben Carson, but Carly's a woman. And instead of being celebrated that the Republicans have a woman in the field, they trash her as well. But as you point out, also, hasn't been a lot of acknowledgement about it.
Correct, and in that case, they may say polls would say that she is not, doesn't have an impressive poll rating yet, but it's a chicken and egg thing to some extent. Media coverage drives polls, and polls drive media coverage. I mean, so if you ignore someone, how are they going to get off the ground? And I think the whole key here is, yes, as you suggested before, these are candidates that diversify that white male Republican stereotype. So you have to think on some level their reluctance to give them any publicity isn't just about them saying, oh, they don't have a chance.
Yeah, no, it's what every candidate is going to come up against. I mean, we saw what they did to Rand Paul, the woman problem, and and Rubio had his problems, and it's just, it doesn't matter that they all have great stories. It doesn't matter that they're, except for Paul, they're all minorities. Even Cruz, a minority. That doesn't count if you're a Republican.
And in every cycle, generally, all the Democrats running for president are generally portrayed in a positive light. I mean, even John Edwards, for heaven's sake, was presented extremely positively until they couldn't do so anymore. Dennis Kucinich, Al Sharpton, they'd run for president. People didn't have discouraging words for those candidacies. Right. Al Sharpton couldn't tell Peter Jennings what on earth the International Monetary Fund was, and they made fun of him for that.
Tim, it's a double standard, but you know it better than anybody. Thank you for coming on, sir. Appreciate it.